What's going on, folks? It's episode 16 of the podcast. Welcome. I hope everyone is staying safe and staying healthy. Shout out to all the teachers that are going back to in-person learning. Man, I cannot imagine the stress right now. So thank you. You are essential workers. You are frontline workers. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of the work that you're putting in and all of the stress, and I can only imagine how hard it is. So thank you to all the teachers. This week, I wanted to throw up a piece of an interview I just did for the For Your Consideration Grammy Awards with Janeane Bernstein. It's a nice, light interview. We talk about music. We talk about what's going on in the world. Keep it light. Keep it fun. You can check her out on iHeartRadio. You can check her out on YouTube. The show is called Outside the Box. Definitely worth a listen. Next week, or probably the end of this week, we'll be back with more tactics for musicians and business and things like that and how you can further yourself. But this week, let's keep it light. Let's keep it fun. Thank you guys for listening, and here's the episode. Check it out.
Hi, this is Janeane, and you're watching Outside the Box. Standing by to join me is Matt Berman, and I happened to get a hold of his latest music video, You Okay, and I loved it, so I wanted to invite him on the show. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, how's it going? I'm
Great.
happy to be here. Thank you for asking me to be here. I'm really excited.
And you're from my favorite city.
Oh, thank you. New York City. My favorite city, too.
How long have you lived there? All your life?
All my life, yeah. I'm originally from Staten Island, and then I went to high school and college in the city. So once I was going for college, I'm like, let me just move. And so now I live in East Village, which is so nice. A lot of like artists.
Amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Great place to live.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I always tell myself, oh, you never know. Like maybe I'll go somewhere else. No, I can't.
No, it's ingrained in you.
Yeah, not that I do anything late night, but just knowing that stores are open, it's like comfort, you know?
Right.
I could always go get something in the middle of the night if necessary.
And growing up in New York, I used to be a little nervous going out at night, but I remember getting off a plane from the West Coast and checking into my hotel, and it was like 11 o'clock and just strolling around, I think I was like East 25th Street. I'm like, I just decided I needed to take a walk, and I have never felt safer, actually.
Yeah, no, it's really nice, and they've done so much in the city to make it that way too. And I'm really fortunate because from my apartment, I live right on 14th Street, which is super, super busy. But then I have another entrance to my apartment where there's a park. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. If I go out one side, it's crazy. And if I go out the other side, I can just kind of walk and chill and just walking around the neighborhood. I love this neighborhood being like half kind of super neighborhoody, and then you can go and there's a Target down the block, so it's a nice in between of the craziness and relax.
I cannot believe you live on East 14th Street. When I was little, my dad was divorced my mom, and his apartment was on East 14th Street.
Whoa, no way.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I know.
See, that's why we have a connection.
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
What has it been like for you, as an artist, living through this pandemic, and then how you crank out this music video?
Yeah, it has been unprecedented. I always go to my family and I'm like, God, what do I do? How do I figure out how am I gonna gig? How am I gonna make money? What am I gonna do?
Right.
It has been so hard, and it kind of has opened my eyes to all the opportunities that I wasn't aware of. Because pre-COVID, I just really focused on how many gigs can I get? How can I get my name out there by playing gigs? And what are the best gigs for me? And now I'm really focusing on, okay, what kind of material can I put out there? And how can I put it out there to be the most effective way possible? And I'm also doing a lot of recording and producing a lot of videos. So we finished You Okay. We were kind of in the studio when COVID started to hit. It was maybe like a week or so before this whole lockdown when we finally finished it up. And we kind of just got it in the nick of time. Like I think we mixed and mastered all like remotely, bouncing it back and forth with each
Mm-hmm.
other. Yeah, it was just so happened to be perfect timing, despite it being a terrible pandemic.
Of course.
Um,
And New York City,
oh
which
yeah,
got slammed in
oh yeah.
March.
I think it was like March 15th
March.
was like the big. Oh, it was terrible. But then I had released the song, or I had intentions of releasing the song at that time, and I knew I wanted to do a music video, so we put the song out, and I really wanted to follow up with a video. But I had some footage here and there, but I really didn't have much because I was like, oh, it's fine, I have all this time, and then
Sure.
pandemic. So I did a lot of the video super DIY, and
Mm-hmm.
I did it with like 3 different cameras, and I had help from my family, my girlfriend, my bandmates, all just like, all right, what's a safe way to do this? And I
Yes.
knew, at least for myself, like in my last video, One More Night, we shot that with like a beautiful red camera, and we went location,
Mm-hmm.
we had
Yes.
actors and stuff. I'm like, God, how am I going to
Do
just
this.
figure it
Right.
just figure it out? So there's a lot of remote shooting, there was a lot of isolated shooting, and me just sitting on a fire escape.
I saw that.
Yeah, and then going around different places, like all the different hospitals, because I did want it to be about you gonna be okay in general. I didn't want to just say, oh, it's just for the pandemic, but I obviously it played a huge role in it, and I wanted to send out that message to, of course, the listener, but
Yeah.
also to the healthcare workers and all the people that are contributing for the reason that we are okay, because
Sure.
we couldn't do it without them, and of course all the MTA workers, all the transit workers, all even the restaurants that stayed open to just do takeout and deliveries for people. So
Exactly.
it was crazy. Yeah, it was a lot. It was definitely an undertaking. I had to learn Final Cut Pro by myself, which took
In a
quite a
month.
while, in a month. Because I'm like, at the time too, like I had thrown a lot of money into recording the song and recording the songs that are coming out soon. So I'm like, I'm not going to be able to hire an editor right now. I
Right.
better learn how to edit.
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that's, yeah.
our life has been completely flipped around, and it's either you pivot or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And pivoting is essential.
Oh yeah, I took after that the song came out, I kind of don't like to stop working. That's like
Mhm.
I really love working. So right after the song came out, I had put it out. I had done as much PR as humanly possible through all these social media platforms and other ways of going about it. I had put the video out, same thing. I got as many people involved as humanly possible, family, friends, and then I thought to myself, okay, how the heck am I going to continue this momentum, right? Because due to my biased opinion, but good and bad, I guess, of streaming services, it's not like selling CDs anymore. You're not going to make money off of CDs.
Right.
So how am I going to figure out paying my rent, right? Because I can't do what I
Kind of
usually do.
important. Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mhm.
Student loans and rent. They're
Right.
never gonna
In
leave you.
Manhattan.
Exactly. I'm like, oh gosh. So I always wanted to score music for film. And so I took that path. So I took the time to make a demo reel. And I remember when I went to the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music, and there was a teacher there named George Fontanet, and he's done an amazing amount of films and TV. And he inspired me to get it together. So I gave him a call. I'm like, what do I do?
Oh,
And so he helped me a little bit along, and I made a demo reel, and I started reaching out to people. Very similar to you, I had my own show as well, which I continue to do, my own podcast, and I got some sponsorships going for that. So that was a nice source of income.
hmm
And then right now I'm working on 3 films, and I'm producing a music video for another artist, as well as putting out the next song, which is just about done. So I think learning, like you said, to pivot and even just exploring the other worlds and other routes of other opportunities
Yes.
musically has been huge for me.
Right. And learning to not doubt yourself and say, I don't think I can learn Final Cut Pro. Like, can
Yeah.
you imagine if
I
you
mean, I was terrified. I
Of
was like,
course.
thank God for YouTube.
Right.
But I mean, I had so many fails. Like I always knew from my music, and I don't know why this didn't link. I have 3 backup hard drives for every kind of
Whoa.
track that we put out, and I saved save it 3
Yes.
times just in
Yes.
case. And for whatever reason, I'm like, oh yeah, video. I don't need to save it 3 times. The amount of times that I lost content.
Oh,
I'm like, you learn the hard way. And yes, I was terrified, but you just got to do it because
right.
no one's going to do it for you.
Exactly. And yes, you could pay someone to do it, but how about your vision? Like, start from what your vision is
Totally.
and learn.
Totally.
Use this time to really grow and learn.
Yeah, I think this is a great time for all of that. Learning a new skill or learning a new pathway. Like if you're an actor, then learn how they cast people, or like learn what the people behind the camera are doing, so you can even get better at your craft. And for me, what I was kind of saying on my podcast is, if you're a musician right now, like this is the perfect time to explore different routes, like the film scoring, like producing. Learn how to learn how to use Pro Tools, not just sit in the studio and the other guy does it for you and you just sing into the mic.
Yeah.
Learn Logic, learn all these softwares, because we have so much time to do it. And even if
Yes.
you're working, like, the world is still not normal. So
It's not.
you do have the time. Like, I had my guitar out earlier because I've always had the stigma of like, I don't want to be the guy that like sings and plays guitar all the time.
You had
But
that
I like,
stigma?
yeah, because I'm like the singer-songwriter cool guy
Oh,
that
oh,
sings and plays guitar. I'm like, I'm gonna play piano. I've gone against it the whole time, but I'm like, you know what? I've been putting out covers just to keep relevant and keep
yes.
people wanting
Good.
to come back when we do go back to normal.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, all right, it's about time. I
Yeah.
just start figuring it out.
Right. But it is exciting when you push yourself to learn something new, because whether, you're picking up an instrument for the first time or revisiting it or learning a software program, it's a great use of time.
Oh yeah. I think even if you don't become the greatest producer ever known to man,
Mhm.
or myself, I'm probably not going to be the next Spielberg, but I got a video done that I'm really proud of. I felt accomplished. If it gets 1 million views or if it gets 1 view, I know, hey, I worked my butt off and look at this thing that I can be proud of,
Exactly.
that people are going to see. And then, like you said, for the vision, like, I had a vision for the song and I had great people to collaborate with, and I had a vision for the video, and I can say I did that, you
You
know.
bet. You mentioned something a few minutes ago about really somebody that was a mentor to you.
hmm
Would you say he caused a shift in your mindset that helped you find direction?
Oh yeah. So when I was in school, I went to at the new school. There was a lot of jazz people. There was which they have a certain mindset and a way of going about things.
Hmm.
I also took an R&B ensemble class, which was directed by Bernard Purdy, which he made the Purdy Shuffle, like a groove. How cool is
Whoa.
that?
Whoa.
And then the film, which was kind of a combination of two. So specifically George Fontanet as a person, he made film and writing for film cool. At the time, and I'm sure a lot of people felt this way, especially going to school for performance. I wanted to be the next, I want to be the next Justin Timberlake. That's the only cool thing. Everything else is not as cool because he's the guy and he gets all the girls too, and he's really cool.
Okay.
So learning that is that that doing the production and doing the film scoring and the composing was that cool. And I think an instructor, like you said, like an instructor that way, that makes you think about that, is like, whoa, he's so cool and he does all these things. I want to
Mhm.
be like, I could do this. And since I was like maybe 6 years old, I've always wanted to write for Disney. So the first thing on that film reel was a Disney short.
Of course.
But
No, it definitely made a big difference. And even the people I collaborate with now, my friend Jake Owen, he's an amazing guitar player. He plays with the band Augustana. That's how I met him, because I wanted to be like the singer in Augustana, and then I found each band member after every gig, like, I love you, you're so cool. But yeah, I think 100% what you're saying. The people who mentor you really define, I think, your choices. Like when I was starting to play saxophone, I had one teacher. His name was Paul Korn. He was so cool. He took me on gigs. I went to go see
Oh,
him play, and I think that's a reason why I stayed with it, because it's really hard.
yeah.
You choose a life of, especially studying it in school, instead of going to hang out with your friends, you sit in it in practice room.
Yes.
So I think that's huge. It's very influential.
It's really interesting how you choose to spend your time too, because I'll have people asking me, so what are you watching? What are you binge watching?
Hmm.
And I'm like, nothing,
Right.
nothing.
I
Because
will say, I will say, I don't watch TV during the day. Like, I'll wake
okay.
up and watch the news, or I'll
Okay.
watch the news in the evening while I'm having dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But around 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, I always make time for one show. And so
And,
now I'm catching up on Game of Thrones. I've never watched it,
oh, you
didn't
haven't?
know the hype, didn't understand the hype. Now I
Yeah.
know.
Now you
Oh,
know.
I know. Oh, I know now. So that's like been the thing. Like,
That's
nothing
cool.
sets you to sleep more than gore and deceit,
Not me.
So
I be sleeping with the light on.
yes, no, I understand. Yeah,
That's so
it's a fun
funny.
show. That's my one thing right now. I've gone like each month, if I finish something or however long it takes, I take the time for one show.
I think it's good for your brain though, because I know I like to write. I've been writing
Mhm.
short scripts. I just wrote a pilot. And
Mhm.
when you let your mind just rest and go away from thinking so much about that thing or all these other projects, and you just go have this diversion, I think it's really good. And you can come back to whatever it is you're working on refreshed.
Yeah, it might have been like an article or a book. I won't actually refer to it, but there's something that's like, how be creative by not being creative, or so, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
like
totally agree
taking a
with you.
walk or yeah,
Yeah,
riding your bike or whatever. Yeah.
exactly. Using the other side of the brain a little bit, or just resting it.
Yes.
Which has been hard too. And, we can table this part of the discussion, or we can elaborate. I've talked to a lot of artist friends during this quarantine and the pandemic, and saying, hey, do you want to rip your hair out too? Just empathizing. And a lot of people, and I felt it as well, despite having this time, specifically with lyric writing, for me, it's been really challenging.
Really hard. Yeah.
I think you do get this sort of sense sometimes of like, oh man, it's almost like a creative depression in a way. For
Yes.
me, it was lyrics, and the regular instrumental stuff and the scoring was fine, but lyrically it's been hard. And for other people I know too, it just everything has
Yeah.
been challenging. So I feel like it's been a real like roller coaster, emotionally for everyone, but
Right.
as well as for
Right.
artists too.
So you and I were talking about my mentoring series that I'm launching.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know from your perspective, can you imagine yourself in college right now? You've lost your internship or that job position that you were so excited about. Like, what would you, how do you think you would be handling the situation? I mean, honestly, you probably would be really upset, obviously, but
Oh yeah.
what advice would you give to somebody in college right now?
God. First, I would say it's going to be okay. Stop crying, because I know that's what I would do first.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel despair and lost, as many of us have, barring even without a pandemic. What I think they don't teach you, it's, and I think it will relate to now, what they don't teach you in school is you're not going to get a gig coming out of school, no matter what profession you have in the
Right.
arts world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think taking the time, what I've noticed is the connections and connecting with people that are not just like your drinking buddies on a Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
right? So putting your name out there, which I wish I would have done a bit more. When I was in college, I did do the jam sessions, and I went up to, Smalls Jazz Club, and I went to the Jazz Gallery, and I'd get my butt kicked every weekend, but taking the time now, like if you lost your internship, that's awesome. Great. Now go build your own business, because all the time that you would have had, dedicating to someone else's growth, you can focus on your own.
You bet.
So I think that's huge. I would say go whatever you want to do, go start putting your name out there. Like I can tell you for me, I'm lucky enough that I do have those connections now where I do get work by word of mouth, but I also searched the Facebook groups for NYC film Facebook groups, and I messaged every single person. Hey, do you need music? Hey, do you need music? I went on Production Hub. I went on Upwork, all the freelancer sites, putting yourself out there, posting the things that you do, making a demo page, all this stuff that takes time, creating profiles on different places, make a website. I have a demo reel on my website now for all my film scoring stuff. All this stuff that takes time. Good thing you don't have that internship anymore, because now you can focus on what's really important.
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm very passionate about that. I could get really intense. So
No, it's good. You know,
Yes.
I think it's interesting. At the beginning, I was looking for freelance work, and all the rejection was just getting to me.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm thinking, I think all the rejection did me a favor, because I remember having great conversations with somebody and thinking a project was going to come through. And it reminded me of dating, when you think you have this connection and then they ghost you.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, really? Well, you know what? I'm going to take away from that conversation that I was able to articulate what I really want to do. And what I really want to do is not necessarily work with that person or that organization. I think I want to do my own thing.
Right. I think to your point, I agree. And I think also, for the people that are unsure right now and in this position, do keep in mind, yes, you do have to pay your bills.
Yes.
So, for me, when I was starting and I had absolutely no projects, sure, I would take the $1,000 or whatever it may have been, a low budget film to do, half hour of music that I essentially lost because I could have made a lot more money if it was a regular budget.
Yeah.
But you have to take those too. And I think that's a learning experience as well. Don't think your first film is going to be the next Captain America movie, or something like that. But I agree with you. I think it's very important. I think people, like you say, the fear of rejection, I think that holds people back a lot. I think the fear of being judged holds people back a lot. I believe that in and I'm sure you've dealt with this too, as creative types, the worst thing, and similar to dating, instead of someone just saying no, they just won't say anything, right? Like the ghosting thing. That is the worst. I cannot tell you, literally, I would send out 200 emails every 3 days saying, hey, I do music, and just no response.
Nothing.
It's so much worse.
Exactly.
I'd rather you say nah, you suck. I've heard that a lot. It's fine. And we all hear the no. And I think we've grown resilient to the no, at least if we're haven't quit yet.
You bet.
So.
I also want to say, I think you also have to know what your value is. So for example, there are so many jobs out there, different places, wherever it is, let's say Indeed, for example, and they'll give you a nice title, right? Producer, blah, 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 and then it's like $25 an hour. And I'm thinking, know your value. Right?
Yeah, no, seriously. I have looked on Indeed because I was looking through composer jobs, and I just decided, let me Google it.
Yes.
And Indeed, of course, because they have the big money in the SEO, they're up top.
Yes.
And I'll look at Indeed, and just to look, I just want to see what things are going for.
Yes.
And everything is so much lower. Granted, I know the economy is kind of shot, but oh my gosh. When I was in college, I was an assistant buyer, right? Because I needed to pay rent. So I worked for the fashion company Diesel. And I mean, at the time, I was getting paid nothing. I was getting paid maybe 45,000, if that.
Okay.
And I look on the job sites for Indeed because it's, I guess, I don't know, it tracks me. Yeah. And there are buyer jobs now in offices or remote, and they're getting paid 35. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do people live?
Terrible.
There's absolutely no way someone can at least in New York City, which the job is in.
Yes.
Because Google will track me. But it's crazy. Everything is lower. And
Right.
I agree with you. You have to know your worth. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sad because there's so many people now that are on unemployment and
Right.
getting the unemployment pay, and then you see a job, not maybe 39,000, but you see a job that's even less than what you'd get after taxes on unemployment. And you're like,
Oh, come on.
what's the
Right.
point? Yeah.
Exactly. What is the point? And then, people really feel like they need to work. And so they have to take that rate, but that's not what they're really worth. It's insulting.
Yeah, it really is. It's really sad. We have I won't turn into a political
No, I know.
conversation, but there's a lot going on, and I
Yeah.
think we should be paying people, like you said, what they're worth,
You bet.
and especially artists. I love the shirt that the PIC people have is like, don't ask people to create for free. That's
Exactly.
cool. Unless
I
it's like
love
your
that.
buddy that he's like, oh yeah, I'll do you a favor. Cool. Awesome.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's frustrating. I can't tell you the amount of, like, even I just quoted a guy that wanted, I think he's like 5 to 10 minutes of music, and I gave him a very reasonable quote.
Hmm.
No.
Oop, you froze. You froze. Can you hear me?
Is it though?
Oh, wait. You
Yeah.
completely froze that last minute.
Oh my goodness.
You said, wait a minute. You said this guy wanted a quote. I thought it was reasonable, and then you froze.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there was a gentleman that wanted a quote for his film. It was a very, very short film. Very, very reasonable quote. I went lower than usual because I was very interested. It was a
Yeah.
rom-com. I love
Yeah.
rom-coms. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, I only have like $200. And I'm like, dude, oh
Come
man,
on.
like, dude, come on, man. Not
Right.
that, again, I'm not too prideful. Like, I would still work with anyone with any budget, but that's like,
That's no. That's go have your friend do it.
yeah. Or like license something online. Which
Exactly.
would probably cost you $200.
Exactly. What else would you like people to know about you?
Oh man. Tall, dark, and handsome. I'm kidding.
Humble. Very
Yeah,
humble.
so humble.
Yes.
No, I think it's really important, especially in these times. My sole purpose, in my opinion, is to create music, and how I'd like to create music is to go out and play and do these shows and tour, which I miss very, very much. But when it's not possible to, I think it's really important to make music, but just in maybe some different ways. And they all use those really fun parts of your brain. And that's what I've been starting to do. And I love it. And I found success. And I think a lot of people can find success as well.
It's amazing. Where can people find out more about you?
Yes. All right. Well, you can go to www.monroemusic, MONROE music.net. I'm also on Instagram at Matt Berman Music or at Matt Berman Podcast. I think that's right.
Okay.
And I'm on Facebook too.
How did you come up with the name of your latest album?
Oh, man. Well, You Okay? It was like, I just wanted to simplify it.
Okay.
I just, super simple, You Okay? But the album, I will be coming out with an album a bit closer to when things are a little back to normal, but there is going to be a song coming out. I like, there's not like a clear defined chorus, so I really don't have the name for it, but
Are you going to call it Are You Normal?
Yeah, it's You Okay? Question mark?
There you go.
So I'm excited. It'll be on the website at some point and hopefully very soon.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
Well, Matt, I've really enjoyed this, and
Same.
congratulations on everything you're doing.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I still can't get over that you're in the same area where I used to visit my dad, East 14th.
I know. Next time we do this, I'll take you on my phone and we'll do a neighborhood
Okay.
walk.
I'm going to have to figure out his address. I must have it somewhere because then he lives in different places. So
Let me know because maybe it's around here.
Maybe
I
it
don't
was
know.
that building.
I'm feeling a vibe.
That building.
I think so. It's got good vibes.
Yeah, it's a great area.
Oh, I love it. I can't complain.
All right, be well, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I will talk to you soon.
All right.